À 33 preneurs, 33 l'allemand.
Non, mais je tombais des nues, moi ça va pas. Non.
Alors j'en parle, j'ai 30 au départ.
Oui.
31.
30, c'est moi.
Non.
Merde.
Alors 40 c'est le départ, 41, 41, preneurs, 42.
Voyez les beaux citrons, voyez les petits champignons. Voyez le joli champignon cultivé, mesdames, toujours bien frais.
Ça, c'est ça, non, c'est pas ça. 703, c'est pas vrai qu'il m'a dit?
Avec que c'est beau là, 130 euros.
Voilà.
S'il vous plaît.
Merci bien, madame.
Par là, oui. Y he hecho tanto mal hecho trabajo que no hace la gente que está bien.
It is one of the most fertile countries of Europe, rich in natural resources. France, 220,000 square miles, about 4/5 of the size of Texas, with 51 million people. After the Soviet Union, the largest state in Europe. Modern industry side by side with traditional craftsmanship going back centuries to many lands. A country of many small farmers, tilling a piece of soil that has been their families since the end of feudal times. There has never been a French race, so writes a French historian, lying near the western end of the continent. The area which today makes up France was the place where invasions stopped short and invaders settled down. Remnants of a monument erected by the Roman Emperor Augustus at La Turbie commemorate his legion's triumph over native resistance. But long before the Roman conquests had begun, about 800 BC, hordes of Celtic warrior tribes called Gallians, or Gauls, had swept from Eastern Europe across the Rhine and were spreading over much of what is now France and Spain, subduing the indigenous Ligurians and Iberians, and often warring among themselves. Across the Mediterranean Sea came Phoenician sailors, Semitic traders, and later Greek navigators who established settlements along the coast. Antipolis, now Antibes, Nicaea, today's Nice, and the port of Massilia, which became Marseille. Germanic influence has been prevalent in the border province of Alsace ever since Teutonic tribes first crossed the Rhine. The fishermen of Brittany speak a Celtic dialect related to the Welsh of their ancestors in Cornwall. And in their local celebrations, the Biniou, a bagpipe, is played, and the old Breton flag is carried in parade. But it was Rome's conquest of the Gauls that left the most lasting imprint. Rome imposed its peace, its law, its language. It set up a central administration and awarded citizenship to the select. Highways, aqueducts, urban centers marked the image of the extending empire. Then, early in the 5th century, it collapsed, weakened by moral decay and hostile attacks. Gaul fell to the Germanic Franks. In the 8th century, their king Charlemagne, backed by the Church of Rome, succeeded in reviving the empire, uniting under his rule rival kings and barbarian tribes. But soon after his death, the empire was partitioned. Internal strife and new invasions followed. Seagoing Norsemen occupied the coast along the Channel. From here, one day, the Norman Duke William would launch his conquest of England to become its king and rival of the King of France. In the south, the Arabic Saracens resumed their warlike incursions from neighboring Spain. Under their onslaught, the inhabitants fled to the hilltop strongholds for protection by their feudal lords, while the invaders settled in the plains. In the chaos and anarchy of the crumpled empire, the church was the only and growing power representing a universal order and towering above local conflicts. A measure of its pervasive influence in France is seen in that today over 4,000 towns and villages are named after saints. It was the church that provided some elemental education in the villages, that encouraged scholarship in ecclesiastical schools and the early universities, licensed by the Pope to teach, using text approved by the church. Through the study of mathematics and astronomy, logic and rhetoric, the scholar, using his reasoning power, was expected to reconcile factual experience with revealed truth. Orléans, Chartres, Paris became famed centers of learning.
Ces tuiles sont faites d'une argile recouverte d'un vernis clos au four. C'est une sorte de céramique. Ils les ont posées en 1902, et malgré 70 ans, elles paraissent neuves encore. Alors si vous voulez bien venir avec moi, je vais vous montrer une salle d'hôpital qui a gardé l'aspect qu'elle avait au temps de Rollin.
In every major town, always adjacent to the church, there was a Hôtel Dieu, hostel of God, where nuns administered to the needs of the sick, the aged, and the infirm.
Les malades par la bonne parole. On soignait pas seulement le corps, mais l'âme. Voici les statues de Rollin et de son épouse Guigonne de Salins. Regardez, après plus de 5 siècles, comme les couleurs sont encore fraîches et lumineuses. Le sujet, il n'y a guère à le commenter, c'est le jugement dernier. À travers la loupe, on voit la nature du tissu. On a l'illusion de velours. On pourrait presque...
And religious art, sponsored by the church, taught the lessons of theology and morality through paintings at the altar and sculptures adorning the entrance of the cathedral, and sometimes related the legend of a mystic saint for those who could not read.
But he was not there, you see. He took his hand on his hand. He walked up the hill of Roma. He found a fountain over there. He washed his bloody head, went on talking, you know.
She was a simple, deeply pious shepherd girl of 17 in the village of Domremy, province of Lorraine. From the age of 13, she had had visions and heard voices. Now, with the country ravaged by civil war and English armies, an apparition of St. Michael had commanded her to seek out and reassure the fugitive Dauphin, to liberate beleaguered Orleans and escort the Dauphin to Reims, to be anointed Charles VII, King of all France. But all this accomplished, she was wounded, betrayed and captured, imprisoned, condemned at Rouen by a French ecclesiastical court, and, for defying the hierarchy, burned at the stake as heretical witch.
Oh,
500 years later, the church that had condemned her declared her a saint. Her name became inspiring legend, her birthplace a national shrine. Rome had given the country its law, the Franks its name. Joan of Arc, for the first time, a sense of nation. Slowly, after decades of conspiracies and uprisings by a weakening feudal caste, a strong central monarchy would emerge, culminating in the reign of Louis XIV, the Sun King. Over half a century of absolute power, reflected in the splendor of Versailles and Fontainebleau, built with money from taxes exacted by the king's agents, from commoners and peasants. Clergy and nobility were largely tax-exempt, money dispersed by the king at his sole discretion. To control the nobles, he kept and entertained them lavishly at court, while he raised armies and made wars, as had his predecessors, and as those who followed him would do. Throughout the reign of the dynasty, royal marriages were contracted, alliances formed or broken, all for prestige or a province or colony. In the end, the country was bankrupt, and the Third Estate, the bourgeois class, fed up with financing the court's extravagance and foreign adventures, and eagerly followed by the poor and the peasants, rose to sweep away the last vestiges of feudal privilege, and then the monarchy. Alarmed by the revolution, Imperial Austria and Prussia threatened invasion if harm should befall the royal couple. Enraged, the new French regime declared war and mobilized the whole country. Roger de Lille was captain in a regiment sent from Marseille to the border city of Strasbourg, with orders to advance across the Rhine. Fired by patriotic fervor, so the story goes, he composed a battle hymn which he presented at the mayor's house.
Allons pour prendre la patrie,
backed up by 600 guardsmen from Marseille, marching on Paris to help overthrow the king. Soon it was heard everywhere, through the time of terror that took the lives of king and queen and nobles and uncounted innocent people, and then, one by one, succeeding leaders of the revolution. Through triumph and defeat, through empire and republic. In time, Marseillaise would become the French national anthem. In the rest of the world, it would be sung wherever people rose against oppressive rulers, a symbol of revolution. On the site where it was born stands today the Bank of France.